And she said, my husband and I are relatively new to the Hebrew roots movement and have watched a lot of YouTube on the topic. So this could possibly be a a bad place to start, but okay. She goes on, much of what I see is confusing, and some of the leaders appear sarcastic, and some even appear to be false prophets. Where do we start? Now, this is a good question on two levels, but let's go with what she's going to ask first. We practice dietary restrictions and Shabbat. However, when I see the programs on Friday, there are a lot of rituals. Now, I think what she's saying in terms of programs, I think she's talking about programs that are broadcasting maybe Arab Shabbat services, I think, maybe. Maybe this could also be I don't watch Shabbat Night Live by Michael Rood, but I don't know if he does any ritual on that show or not.
I have no idea.
Anyway.
I have no interest in that.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, it sounds like there's an internet community.
Right.
Okay.
She says, we want something to read that will point us in the right direction. Now, I hear two different questions here, whether or not Eleanor meant to pose two questions. One would be, if we're coming into a understanding of maybe keeping the Sabbath, the kosher laws, and want to expand out into more of Torah, then the question would be, where theologically should we go? Where should we start and where should we go? In other words, how do we study these things without maybe being on YouTube all the time? The other question that I hear here is, we want to keep the Sabbath, but we don't know how. So, and we don't want to necessarily go with a bunch of rabbinics. So where do we start? Both are very, very good questions. And I think that the answers that come need to be, we need to be a little bit careful with how we respond, simply because one of the things that we don't want to do, and I'm not just talking about Rob and me, anyone who's in this situation when somebody comes to you and says, where do we start? Whether it's theologically or whether it's ritualistically, I think that as believers, we have an obligation to try to steer people, obviously, in the right direction without putting them in a place that's going to be more damaging to them in terms of their faith.
Right.
So where do you? I mean, let's start with theologically.
I like that term, theologically. I would say this: be patient with yourself. God's not all of a sudden going to be upset if you don't instantaneously grasp something, But you have to develop a personal theology of the Shabbat. It has to be your own conviction. It cannot be you trying to please what other people are telling you need to do. And that's an important discernment. So how does one develop a theology of Shabbat? I would say start in the Gospels and read every time. We're reading in our local community, we're reading through Luke right now. And this week we read the beginning of Luke 6, where his disciples are picking grain and rubbing it and popping it in on the Shabbat, and
right.
then the people get upset. And then he goes in on Shabbat, and he knows that these scribes are there watching him, whether he's going to heal or not, and they want to attack him. And he says he knows their thoughts, and he sees a man with a withered hand, and he calls him up, and he says, it's lawful for Shabbat to do
right.
good, to heal, or to not do good, right? And then he heals the guy. So, and then he says the Son of Man is Lord of the Shabbat. Okay, so I would say start there. Go to those places and have the conversations about the Shabbat from from a Yeshua-centric starting point, and you go right to the Gospels and then start to develop what is Shabbat. Obviously, in the first century, there was inter-Jewish contention about how to observe Shabbat. So for today, for someone to say, I don't know how to keep Shabbat, that's okay.
Right.
That's okay that you don't know. 2,000 years ago, there were Jews that had the same question that you have today. And Yeshua comes on the scene, and he says, I'm Lord of the Shabbat. So that means that's your first rock. That's your rock of theology of Shabbat, is that Yeshua is the Lord of the Sabbath. And then give yourself grace and kindness to study it out and know that it's God's good pleasure to help you and edify you and build you up so that you would benefit from why he designed the Shabbat as something for humanity that is good for humans and gave it, as Yeshua says, he gave it to man as a gift. You want that to be the good soil and the seed and the growth, not rabbinic expectations or what thing you see ritually going on some YouTube channel.
Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button and check out more videos from Messiah Matters.